Oh, DAC factory, you mentioned it, but perhaps people have no idea what that is. So what is a DAC factory?
One of the main projects that EOSDAC has been working on as a DAC enabler is the idea that we can help DACs and DAOs be super easy for anyone to
Perhaps we
spin
should
up.
even stop there. What is a DAC and a DAO?
Yeah, great point. A DAC is a decentralized autonomous community, or sometimes you hear decentralized autonomous corporation or company, or you'll hear the term DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. And it's really, there's no new things under the sun. It's not some new invention. It's basically co-ops. It's basically a group of people with a shared goal that has been done for a very long time, but it's being done on a blockchain. And this adds some properties to it that are really valuable. So you have immutability. Nobody can go and change the past. You have, as far as the autonomous part of it, we talked about the smart contracts actually being provably deterministic, meaning you put in certain inputs, you're going to get certain outputs every single time. And it's not like, Enron scandal, we have a separate set of books somewhere hiding in the back. Everything is transparent, everything's there. Every vote for a custodian, every vote for a worker proposal, all the transfer funds and the locking of escrow and the permissions, every week, for example, on EOSDAC, as the votes change, the custodians on-chain multisig, the 12 people that are on that multisig, are updated in real time as the votes change and that voting period happens. So a DAC is a mechanism for really a group of people with a shared goal building something where they all get to share in the ownership of it. And it's not like a centralized entity. And I'm really passionate about that being a solution for pretty much any group of people with a shared goal, whether you're a local municipality, a government, a corporation, a nonprofit. There's just endless opportunity for people to do things in a more efficient and transparent way. And so we at EOSDAC, we're building tools like the DAC factory to make it very easy to create your own DAC. If you go to eosdac.io, you can look at more of the details there, but it should be like click, 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 pay some EOS to set up the accounts and deploy the contracts, and you're up and running. That's what we're going for.
So it's plug and play for someone that wants to run a DAC.
That is the goal. Yes, it's still like you can check it on Jungle testnet, on the Jungle 3 testnet right now, and it's still being tested in production, but we're very closer than we've been in a long time. So it's very encouraging.
That's very good. And in one way, this has been working before. Is like small communities, say a farm society. They are collaborating. They are doing things together. What you are doing is making this with code and with voting, and the contracts are provable and everything. So, as you said, it's something from the past that is now bringing us to the future.
And I think it's also really important, specifically on EOS.io chains, because the contracts are so mutable. And by mutable, I mean you can modify them at any time, unlike Ethereum and others. And so you need a layer of governance. I actually personally believe every single token and every single application on EOS.io should be running as a DAC. If it's not, you're trusting someone who controls the private key of those contracts. So if you have $1 million project, whoever controls that private key can just change the code and take all your tokens, take all your money. And if you say, well, okay, we solved that with a multi-sig, I'm like, okay, that's helpful. That's a step in the right direction. So now you're trusting these individuals, but are they accountable? Can they be removed? If one of them or more of them are bad actors, without a DAC voting model, you have no way to remove that. You have no constitution, for example, that you agree to, a user agreement that says, if you do these actions, we as a community get to say you can't participate anymore. So I do think it's really important that these governance models be thought through. And I've already, unfortunately, personally seen situations where projects, they're able to censor people. They're able to, prevent someone from transferring their tokens, for example. And people freak out. They're like, wait, I thought these were my tokens. It's like, well, you have to understand the technology enough to recognize whoever controls that smart contract for that token contract controls your tokens also.
Yeah, and that's worth understanding, that any token launched on any of these EOS.io chains, unless they have given away the permission to that account, they can update and change things.
And you can check that on like Blocks.io as a block explorer. You can see, in the keys section, if there's a single key there, you should be like, wait, who controls that key? If there's nothing, you know that it is an immutable contract at that point. Another great example of the EOSDAC tool set that's being used is the Vigor DAC. Vigor is a really exciting DeFi project where they're doing all kinds of interesting stuff with multiple tokens, a stable token. There's ability to borrow and lend and all these neat things. And they use the EOSDAC member client and the underlying contracts as far as how they manage the permissions on their system. So it's pretty exciting. It's not fully public yet. So there's certain pieces of it that aren't moved over to the DAC permissions quite yet. but they've been designing this from the beginning to run as a DAC, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, and another one is Uplift Nation, which is a charity pretty much, and that's one of these DACs that I'm actually really considering joining and participating more in, because I love their cause and I think it's an amazing opportunity.
Awesome. Very, very cool. Yeah, I've had numerous conversations with them at different conferences and stuff. It's very, very cool.
Yeah, it's sweet. So that's EOSDAC, that's the DAC factory. How is it participating in a DAC? How is the everyday, like a week, a month? What are you guys doing?
That's a great question. And I'm going to go, as we were talking earlier, I'm always this radically transparent person. So I'll be fully transparent as well. You know, it's not easy. It's very challenging. You know, it's been 2+ years with the EOSDAC community. And it's been, you know, in some ways a little discouraging to not see that continual progress of development, continual progress of the community participating and saying, hey, I would like to step up and add this value this way and the other. And a lot of, you know, there was a lot of discouragement with, in our particular case, with the EOSDAC token losing value, with the, you know, position in the EOS block production. We were one of the founding block producers that launched the chain. Losing that paid position at times made it very difficult to reward people that were adding value to EOSDAC. So there was kind of this sense of like, and also the long bull, you know, bear market that we kind of went through that whole time. So it was a sense of like, are we ever going to make progress with this? You know, and the technology being very difficult to work with. If you've built on EOS.io, specifically the mainnet, you know how challenging it can be. You know, the technology is constantly changing out from under you. You know, you set up your API scrapers and your fillers and everything else, and then things break and change. And so it's been a little discouraging, you know, on some regard. And at the same time, you know, there's no other option, right? There's no better solution, and anything worth doing is hard. And so there's been this kind of sense of like, I've done as much as I could do personally to help EOSDAC. And then I've been really excited. For example, Stuardo has stepped up in a big way to be involved in the technical, leading the technical team. And so I've kind of stepped back a little bit and I'm more involved in feel what I've been doing now. And that's been really great to see. You know, I haven't done videos like I've done in the past talking about EOSDAC because I was not wanting to, you know, I always want to under promise and over deliver. And I don't want to talk about the DAC factory if you can't use it yet, right? And month after month, it was kind of like new challenges would show up either in the EOSDAC technology stack or the EOS mainnet technology stack. You know, like deferred transactions recently just totally broke, and that broke the entire, you know, DAC model. So that was another blow that was frustrating. You'd be like, okay, there's nothing we can do about that. They just got to get it fixed. And, you know, shout out to EOS Nation who came up with a solution to, you know, process those deferred transactions. But it's challenging, but I would say it's a challenge worth fighting. You know, there's so many centralized solutions today that are systemic risk in so many ways. This is the future. I strongly believe it.
Yeah, and I hope we can have some or even more legal backing to governing a DAC in our society as a large.